Hello, everyone. Happy weekend. Um, I watched an amazing show last night that Corey Press did called Notes from the Motherfield, and it made me miss my mom so much. Um, she has not been in her body for 4 years now, and um, even though she's not in her body anymore, I feel like she's with me all the time. And this whole pandemic has made us, I think, really realize how important it is to cultivate intimacy with ourselves and with each other. And when I was in my early 20s, my mom wrote this piece for me and gave it to me on Mother's Day. She was an amazing, amazing writer. And it's been hard for me in all this time to read her words aloud, but I don't know, something about this time, this week, this full moon, this wanting to keep my mom alive with me made me want to read this. So here's the piece that my mom wrote for me when I was a young woman and gave to me for Mother's Day. She was so amazing. They tear up so much more than just buildings when they come in and remake a street, move out the old familiar stores. The fiber of people's lives goes when the storefronts disappear. The shop windows go empty and cold with just a layer of plaster debris and dust left. Congress Street downtown used to be noisy with shoppers and office workers, cars at all the parking meters. It was where you killed time on lunch hour, or as a court reporter, where you might wait for a jury verdict or sentencing. Woolworths had a special appeal because there was so much to it. A fascinating microcosm of Tucson residents and commerce and downtown bustle. A lunch counter with a full kitchen of standard American delights and customers on stools hunched over their food, rows and rows of cheap goods, and here and there, a treasure for a pittance. A fresh popcorn machine that always made it smell like you were at the movies. An aisle of shimmering, cruising, flicking goldfish crowded in their aquariums. Ready-made eyeglasses for those who couldn't afford or be bothered with a fitting. Religious plaster statues and rosary beads. A booth crammed with giggling kids waiting for the strip of goofy photos to come out. Woolworths had everything, and the lunch counter clientele fascinated me. Tough, friendly, middle-aged and older women waited on you. They wore too tight pink nylon uniforms. In the pocket, over ample bosoms, there were corny, frilly, elaborately arranged handkerchiefs. Where did they get them from? One of Woolworth's incredible aisles. There was often something pinned to these handkerchiefs, appropriate to the season. A plastic shamrock for St. Patrick's Day, a Santa Claus or a cluster of silver balls for Christmas, a little flag for the 4th of July. They were ritual and symbolic. A holiday didn't officially occur until these seasonal flares of decoration on Woolworths waitresses confirmed it. The food wasn't bad. The best was the grilled cheese, the kind of appropriately burned on the outside, with those piercingly sour pickle chips and a broken potato chip on the side. Cokes came in big classic glasses, announcing Coca-Cola in cursive and deep in chipped ice. There were specials too, like fried fish and coleslaw, or sliced beef with mashed potatoes and gravy, or sliced turkey with mashed potatoes and gravy, and a little paper cup filled with cranberry sauce. The gravy was always too scary to try, but it was fun to watch how some of the customers clearly thought the specials were a big treat. A lot of poor working people and poor old folks used to eat there, and sometimes it made me very sad to see how that $2 special was such a big deal for them. But I ate sandwiches quietly, day after day, sometimes looking over my notes from court, always alone. And I came to feel a part of them. This was downtown Tucson in the 1970s, with a nice cadence to it. As I sat thinking about the testimony I'd just heard in a murder case, or the 20 years some robber was sentenced to that morning, I was a working mother with a little child dependent on me, and that was what drove me to do my job as best I could. Take good notes, write stories quickly and well. I didn't have a lot of spare money, but it gave me a special pleasure to walk through Woolworth's aisles to find something for little Kate. A tiny pair of patent leather shoes with a buckled strap. Not good shoes, but they grow out of them so fast anyway. Another day, a jar of soap bubbles with a wand, a coloring book, a tiny gold ring with a heart-shaped ruby. Sometimes I found things for me. I pondered an Italian pot that could double as a planter for weeks. It had big orange flowers on it and a nice thick rim painted brown. Yup, it was from Italy, all right. Said so right on the bottom. But it cost $5.29. Too much. I didn't need it. But it would look so good on my doorstep. One day, I bought it, and I felt guilty for days. I still have the planter, and it still looks good. Sometimes I knew the people I'd see in Woolworths, mostly courthouse personnel, occasionally someone from the Mexican neighborhood we lived in, or from the cathedral where we went to Mass every Sunday. One day, I sat at the lunch counter on an angle with a clear view of the main aisle. From far down approached an ordinary blonde woman holding a tiny little girl by the hand, a child about 3, the same age as Kate. The mother had a cane in one hand. The child pulled her by the other. It didn't seem possible, but I knew her. The woman from my childbirth education classes. She had stretched and exercised just like me, practiced the relaxation positions, learned how to prop pillows for more comfort. All of us, whales beached across the floor, stretching and flexing. Now, here she was, years later, with that pretty child, the same age as mine, probably born within days or weeks of my baby. I had never spoken to her. It was hard to just walk up to someone like her in class, awkward, pretentious. What would you say anyway? she was blind. Now here she was again, maneuvering her way, tapping surfaces with a cane for depth perception. And this tiny child slowly, deftly pulling her along, heading her to an empty stool, waiting till the mother was ready to pull her up onto her lap. But I was frozen. No need to worry, she'd recognize me. And while I knew the child, she did not know me. I just sat and watched this miracle of symbiosis, these two working it together. It was as if I had known that child before she was born, watching her mother prepare her own body for their arrival. And here they were at Woolworth's lunch counter. The baby had smoothly taken the role of a capable little mother herself, all in her stride, maneuvering her mother through the streets and stores of downtown Tucson. Nothing could get so hard for me. As hard as things seemed at times, raising and supporting a child by myself, that could never equal those two brave partners faced every day. I often think of them, knowing instinctively that they're all right. And so was I with my tiny partner. Woolworths is gone now. So are all the good places along Congress Street. They alter far more than they know of our lives, our rites of passage when they tear it all down. Thank you, Mom. You are my superhero. I love you. Happy Mother's Day.